and some clapping emojis as I bring up Kate Whitfield.
Thank you so much, Bolu. Thanks very much. That was extremely kind. And I seeing so many people joining, so I feel very humbled. Um, Bolu, is it okay to just jump straight in? Should we crack on or should we wait? What would you like to do?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you can kick off right now.
Okay, great. All right. So thank you so much for your warm welcome. Um, I need to try to organize my slides and my computer here. Okay, so let me take a moment to share my screen. Okay, so could you just give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen, or Bolu, can you just shout out that you can see it?
Yes, yes,
Okay, lovely. Thanks so
lovely.
much. That's great. All right. So thank you so much for inviting me, and a special thanks to Opti for the invitation. I'm really humbled that I was invited, and you know that all of you are so dedicated on the weekend. Um, so, what is this session all about? So, while I give you some background, I'm actually going to ask you to please open a tool called Padlet. And the web link is there on the screen. The QR code is there on the screen. And I'm going to copy paste it right now as well into the chat. So just give me a moment while I try and navigate all my screens and into the chat. So here we go. Yeah, okay. Again, if you can give me a thumbs up if any of that is working, or jump off mute and let me know if you can't open the Padlets. Okay, I've got a thumbs up. Thank you so much. That's super kind. All right, so while you're opening the chat, opening the Padlet on your laptop or your cell phone, that's going to help us interact a little bit later on. So I'll just share something personal with you about who I am and the work I do. I'm originally from the UK. I spent about 10 years of my life working in malaria research. And when I came here to Japan, the climate crisis became very personal to me. It's extremely hot and humid here. The typhoons are getting more strong and destructive. But at the same time, we're surrounded by roads. Roads are expanding. The number of cars keeps increasing. The amount of concretification is increasing, and trees are being cut down. So it just feels like we're going in the wrong direction. Our electricity here is 96% coal based, so the dirtiest of all the fossil fuels. And all of this really worried me, but it also kind of inspired me. And it inspired me to try to do something positive. So within my limited capabilities, my limited sphere of influence, um, I try to make a positive contribution. And I set up Zeroverse to help individuals, teams, and organizations that work within a university, or they might work in a research organization, to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. So I was very lucky to meet Opiyemi through this work. And Opiyemi asked me a really challenging question. She said, well, what does zero mean? I've called my small business Zeroverse after all. So zero means zero greenhouse gas emissions. This is what we need to strive for. So zero coal, zero drilling for oil, zero burning gas, which is basically methane. But zero also has a climate justice meaning. And for me, it means zero low birth weight babies because their pregnant mothers have been working in extreme heat conditions, and that makes it, the likelihood of poor outcomes in the delivery even worse, even higher. For me, it means zero children or other people with asthma having asthma attacks because of all the filth and the soot and the carbon monoxide and these particles we put in the air because of the diesel trucks and the gasoline-based vehicles that we're using. It also means zero flash flooding because of a chronic drought. Huge swathes of land are dried up, and then when extreme rainfall comes, farms are flooded, homes are flooded, and people lose their lives. So there's a stark and hard-hitting side to all of this, which I'm sure you know very well. But despite that, I try to be inspired myself and help encourage others to find their inspiration, feel empowered to do something positive despite of these harsh realities. All right. So today, in the next few minutes, an hour, we are going to look at problems that need to be solved relating to climate change. We're going to see how a couple of people are solving them. We're going to see and discuss how climate solutions are good for people and communities, and how climate solutions are also development solutions. So there's this interlink. We're going to do this by looking at two stories. And at the end, I'm just going to invite you to reflect on your own story. Both of these stories are true stories. They're happening today, and they're happening in Africa. Okay, so before we get into the sort of the material, can I just check in with Bolu or anyone? Am I okay to proceed? Is audio and everything fine?
Yes, please, it is.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the first story is of a young woman spearheading an effort, and her name is Vanessa Nakate, and she's from Uganda, and she's rather famous. She's a well-known activist, and there were problems that were bothering her. And the problems that bothered her, well, one of the many, were smoky kitchens in schools from burning charcoal to prepare the school lunches, because they were burning charcoal and wood every day to provide the children with a proper meal. She was also bothered by power cuts that were happening quite regularly in her own school, despite the fact that back home they had solar power, solar panels on their roof, and they didn't have those kind of a problem. So I'm going to pause so you can just read the quote from Vanessa. And already she's talking about energy poverty. So already we're seeing how climate solutions are also solutions for people and communities and for development. All right, so this is the time now to please go to the Padlet, the link that I put in the chat. And what you'll see is a screen with a question, just a single question, and that is asking you, what's the source of energy behind the electricity that you're using right now to plug in your laptop, your computer, or your cell phone? You can answer that question by making your own sticky note, and you do that by going to the right-hand side at the bottom of the screen. You'll see a blue circle with a plus sign. If you click on that, a sticky note will pop up. It's all anonymous. You can write your name if you wish to, but don't worry about spelling, or just don't worry about having a go. And we'll just get a sense of you know, what's behind the electricity in your areas? Is it the fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas that we need to stop using, or is it something else? So let me actually share that screen while you're having a go. And loads of you have added. Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. So some really positive ones. We've got lots of solar, hydroelectric. So that they're brilliant. They're the clean, renewable sources that don't generate fuel, excuse me, greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, but we also seem to be having fossil fuels, some coal, even oil. So quite an interesting mixture. Yeah, the sky, right? So the sun and the wind. Yeah, brilliant. An interesting mix. Someone specified gas. Okay, and someone's actually saying as well that it's a combination oftentimes that most national electricity grids are a combination or a mixture of different energy sources. All right, brilliant. And kudos to everyone for having that knowledge and awareness. Okay, and of course, we have to come off the fossil fuels and switch to the cleaner and the cheaper solar and wind. All right, so back to Vanessa and her story in Uganda. So here she is. Vanessa was inspired to act on climate problems, and she found a climate solutions ally. So important and critical piece of her story was that she wasn't alone. She found an ally to work together with. So together with a person called Tim Reutemann, they had a vision of starting the Vash Green Schools project. And this project installed solar panels and improved cooking stoves in primary and secondary schools in Uganda. So here's Vanessa, but the group next to her, I think, is really important. It's a real team involved here. It's a collaborative effort, and the TARD Foundation are supporting, are fundraising, are operationalizing all of this work. Then, of course, the schools. These are the main stakeholders and the main groups of people and communities that are going to be affected by this vision, this project, and this change. So working hand in hand, very openly, transparently, collaboratively with the school directors, principals, teachers, of course, the children, the families and their communities. And it's the stakeholder of the school and the community supporting and caring, educating and learning from each other. And to date, they've actually installed solar panels and cleaner cooking stoves in 70 schools. Okay, so back to that Padlet, and I'm going to actually just very quickly try to add a new question. While I do that, you can actually read it on my screen, but I want to add a new section with a new question. If you just bear with me. Thank you for bearing with me. So I'm going to scroll all the way down, add a new section, and it's a new question. Okay. So now the question that you'll see is, what do you think the benefits are from installing solar panels and cleaner cooking stoves in schools? So please obviously think about the direct climate-related impacts, but think about what the benefits are to the people too. So I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Thumbs up or emoji, or just jump off mute and tell me if That's not working. You'll have to scroll down to the bottom of the Padlet to see the question 2. Let me do this. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, so straight away, reduction of emissions of the greenhouse gases. So you've got a very clear, important climate benefit. Cleaner energy and healthier foods. I love that. So you've just got more capacity to provide maybe better meals in those schools. Right, access to energy. You don't have those power cuts when you're, when you need that electricity flowing, it's coming directly from your roof. Brilliant. Oh, that's fantastic. So promoting IT. So a direct benefit for the education of children. Yeah, clean energy. Improves health. So someone's got the health angle of not working in a smoky environment. And someone had provision of jobs. That's fantastic. So potentially training local people with new skills of how to become a solar installer. Brilliant. So better indoor air quality. Super important. Work efficiency. So very, very thoughtful comments and wide it's really nice. I think I just something about reduces deforestation, right? So the cooking stoves are more efficient, so you just don't need as much firewood. So trees are protected. Brilliant. Overcoming energy poverty. So it just goes on. You're being very thoughtful and covering all sorts of benefits. So fantastic. Let's have a look at the slides again. So I think you've all done a brilliant job of the diversity and the range of benefits. So here's what I discovered in Vanessa's book. Here's what's reported in Vanessa's book and in the TARD Foundation reports. They discuss a lot of benefits, multiple positive effects, and you've pointed to probably all of them. One that's, you've already, I think, covered most of these, but one that surprised me was that children did not have to spend time anymore back home on the way back home or walking to school collecting firewood to bring it to the school. So all kinds of benefits for many, many different people and different actors in the community. Fantastic. All right. So this is where I found this story of climate solutions. Vanessa's book is a great read. I highly recommend it. It's very honest, and it's a really positive, uplifting story. Okay, second story is from Zimbabwe. So this is a story of an undergraduate student, so another young person, together with an estate manager, working together to spearhead an effort through the student's undergraduate university project. Okay, so together they were inspired by a problem. They were inspired to solve the problem of waste being produced from growing macadamia crops. And the additional problem of the forest around around the macadamia crops being lost over time because they had to cut trees down for firewood for the processing of the macadamia crop. So I'll just pause a minute and let you read the quote from the estate manager. All right, great. So we're going to go back to the Padlet. Bear with me. The next question I'm going to add to our Padlet is, what other reasons for cutting down trees, maybe even to the extent of what you would call deforestation in your part of Nigeria? So bear with me while I add a new question. You'll see it at the very, very bottom of the Padlet. So just in my local area, over the last sort of 6 months, I've seen more and more trees being cut down, and it just is so, it's it's just so not what we need to be doing. They protect us from heavy wind, they protect us from heavy rainfall. Obviously, they're housing and providing for wildlife and birds and all sorts. So you may not feel that it's really deforestation as such on a large scale where you are, but if you've seen um, cutting down trees around you, what are the reasons for that, do you think? Fantastic. So loads of thoughts here already. So agriculture, timber, furniture, ignorance on the benefit of trees, right? Making products like paper, books. It's for cooking, so that's your fuel for cooking, firewood, agricultural purposes again, urbanization. Yeah, I think urbanization is the cause where I am. They're just building more roads, they're building more huge like shopping centers. Bush burning during hunting season, profit making, source of livelihood for construction. Right. So, I mean, there are also sustainably managed forests that are planted um, with the intention of harvesting them really for timber, etc. And then these things are replanted, of course. So um, there's a whole industry around that, of course. Yeah, shelter. And then lack of knowledge. So maybe some managed forests and some actually, sort of illegal perhaps or not controlled cutting down of trees. All right, so again, thank you. Very thoughtful feedback and a wide range of reasons behind that. Okay. So let's have a look at this, at how this story evolved. So there was a student at the heart of this project, this young person. They were studying for their Bachelor's of Technology, and they were leading on this project to solve this particular climate-related problem. They designed a machine to turn the waste from the macadamia husks into fertilizer and into briquettes that can be used as fuel. So you've got the student, obviously collaboration and the entities around the student is critical. They were studying in their university. They partnered with a company called Clear Water Estate, and that's the company that grows and processes the macadamia nuts. And the project was recognized and celebrated through an international awards program called the Green Gowns. Okay, so let me just repeat actually what the solution was to the problem. They designed a machine taking the waste from the macadamia nut processing, and they turned the husks into fertilizer and into briquettes, and that's what you can see in the photo, that can be used as fuel. So thinking about that, I'm going to add another question in the Padlet. What do you think the benefits are from making that waste, turning it into fertilizer and turning it into fuel briquettes? So thank you for your patience. Just bear with me as I create another question there at the bottom. Okay, so it's there for you. Could be the benefits from creating fertilizer and fuel briquettes from, and of course you've got climate benefits, but probably many others, social, economic, that I'm sure you. A completely renewable energy. Right, fantastic. Absolutely. A cleaner environment, brilliant. So probably using these fuel briquettes is leading to less native forest being used as firewood. I think that might be what you were thinking of, the cleaner environment. Financial gain, fantastic. You've got less waste being produced on your site, so you don't have to pay for those trucks to come and pick that up. That one. Boosting agricultural products, fantastic. So you've got your macadamia nuts that are being sold as normal, and now you're making a product out of what used to be your waste. That's brilliant. Economic value, livelihood, organic fertilizer, brilliant. So again, that might end up, you might save costs on that because you're generating your own organic fertilizer rather than having to buy synthetic. Creating jobs. Yeah, the global recognition, fantastic. I mean, I wouldn't have discovered this lovely, uplifting story if it weren't for the Green Gown Awards, actually. Yeah, fantastic. Waste management, resource efficiency. Oh, really nice thinking. Okay, so someone's thinking about the pollution in rivers from the runoff that you get from excessive use of synthetic or fertilizers that can, of course, be, damaging to fish in rivers and wildlife. Okay, lovely. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to the slides. And again, the project team themselves, through their project reports, have described a number of benefits. So instead of chopping down trees for firewood to dry out the macadamias that are being harvested, the husk kept so and the trees remain standing and growing. And they reported in the first year, 2.2 hectares of forest remained untouched thanks to those briquettes. So you've got benefits to the carbon cycle, you've got benefits to the water cycle locally, because you've got those trees making the soil healthier. So the water cycle is better regulated. You've got your wildlife and your biodiversity, that's not disturbed. And you've got that forest that continues to be able to absorb carbon. Then on the fertilizer side, you've got improving crop yields is something that they reported. And actually those husks being used as fertilizers essentially is putting carbon back into the soil and locking it there. So you've got that carbon sequestration happening. Cost saving, lots of you talked about that. And of course, less waste being incinerated or going to landfill. And biological waste in landfill can often generate methane, which is a really potent greenhouse gas that you know. Okay, so my source for this story was the Green Gown Awards, and I really recommend it. All of these are inspiring stories. They're all led by young people from all different countries. And you might want to think about nominating your own projects if you're at college or studying in a university. Um, go and see when you might be able to nominate your own projects. All right. So a little bit of time then just reflecting on some of the key themes of these two stories. So what do the two stories tell us? I mean, to me, one of the messages loud and clear is that young people are leading effective climate solutions. You know, climate change is not just a problem there to make us feel angry or make us feel defeated. It's there actually to inspire us to solve some of these problems. For me, these stories are not about individual heroes acting on their own. That people never work alone, right? It's always about finding your allies, your partners, people with different skills to you. How can you work together? And then another take home for me was working with people and communities directly. The ones that are directly affected by the problems and are going to be affected, impacted positively by the solutions, creating a sense of ownership by the community, creating that sense of pride in the work. If that sense of pride can be shared across, that's when you get great engagement and lasting change. And then just the last one on sort of to summarize the climate positives. So what do these stories tell us about climate action and development and that linkage between them? For me, action on climate is not limited just to reducing greenhouse gases. It's often interlinked with all sorts of other benefits that you've highlighted. Healthier environments, school children learning about solar energy, university students earning their degrees by solving these problems, saving resources and costs, protecting the natural world, less waste being transported, incinerated, or landfilled. And of course, this saves on costs, which is important. And I would argue that engaging the communities makes the project more successful and it can make the community strong. Okay, so some time for reflection. So time to think about how we are responding to problems that we see that need to be solved. So let's be inspired by these fantastic stories and let's be inspired by Shea Yadabote, who says, with hope must come action. Okay, so this might be a little bit of a challenge. Oh, let me just get to this and then I think then we'll be able to have questions. So to reflect, take a little bit of time and think about what your story will. What is your story already and where is it going? And specifically, what motivates you to tackle a climate problem that needs to be solved? So 10 minutes to think. I'm going to update our Padlet with that question and invite you to share your thoughts there. Bear with me. Thank you. All right. So you'll see it at the bottom in the Padlet. As you know, the sticky notes are anonymous, but if you would like to add your name proudly to your reflection here, of course, you're very, very welcome to. All right, I'll give you some time to think. Oh, lovely. Already some very nice comments so that everyone benefits. Fantastic. Your personal experience. So, I mean, motivation can be extremely personal. You know, some of these things are pretty scary, the climate impacts that we're seeing. Poverty and food insecurity, great. Environmental sustainability. Oh, lovely. There's a lovely one from Joseph. The desire to see that all humans flourish across all facets of life. Thank you. That's very poetic and beautiful. Decent environment for all. So health is someone's big motivator. And need to save and sustain the planet. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're in a climate emergency. Your community experience food insecurity, right? So you've lived it, you're living it. This is not about future threats, it's really happening. Lawal, thank you. So that's the future of the ecosystem. Energy security, great. Okay, so you've got a family connection to farming and you want to see that more secure. Love for humanity, love for nature. Love actually is at the core of so much of this. It might be love for your community, love for your family, nature, future generations, wildlife. It can really be at the core of all of this. Thank you for sharing because it can be, you know, it can be hard. Thank you. So reducing the rate of extinction of different species, I imagine. Waste management, right? So it's what you're seeing locally and experiencing locally. And of course, thank you, Grace. So that critical connection between climate, extreme weather, agricultural production, livelihoods in farms, communities, and food security, future generations. Thank you so much. Okay. So this is very touching. I will leave that open, but I will just sort of, before I say thank you and goodbye, well, before I say thank you and close my slides, that's open for you. And actually, we can share the Padlet with everyone so you've got it if you want to look back at it. So if you would like to, I'm sharing, and I think you've probably already had access to it. There's an e-learning that if you wish to, you can do in your own time. It's 30 minutes of video, so it's not very, very time consuming. It covers the climate basics. It covers topics of impacts and inequalities, and it also offers a very simple framework to think about climate action. And there's a certificate of completion at the end. And if you use this QR code or this link together with this coupon code, it's completely free of charge. But again, I think the organizers have kindly been circulating that already. Okay, so let me just end with a sincere thanks for taking part today. It's a Saturday. You've been amazing at sharing very thoughtful comments, very personal comments, your direct experiences in the Padlet. I hope this has added something and something for you. And I wish you only the best in your different journeys. And I think there might be time now for Q&A. But yes, and let's please stay in touch. This is me on LinkedIn and all of that. Okay, thank you. I'm going to hand back to Bolu.
Okay, thank you so much, Kate. Thanks so much for the facilitation. I gained so much, honestly, and the goal is to ensure that we have zero emissions and taking action. And you were also able to show us case studies, people that a lot of times you might not even have planned to do something. You just see that there's a problem, there's an issue, something is wrong somewhere. And then you decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to take action. And then you find your allies. So you can meet up with a friend. I observed this thing. Do you want to join me? And that's just it. That's just how the action is going to take place. And I know that some of us have some questions for our facilitator, but before we get into the Q&A session, we're actually going to have someone from the Climate Change Lagos team in the person of Mr. Michael Bankole. He is the Director of Climate Change and Environmental Planning at the Lagos State Ministry of Environment and Water Resources. So he's going to be speaking with us for about 10 to 15 minutes on what the department is doing to drive climate action and how young people can collaborate with them in Lagos State. So please put up some emojis as we welcome on board Mr. Michael Bankole.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here with you, and I want to say that I enjoyed the lecture delivered by Kate, especially the case studies. I think it speaks to the issues that we are all fighting against, which is climate change. So I know my time is very, very short, so I'm going to just cut to the chase and share my screen. I hope my laptop will.
Hi, Mr. Bankole. We can't seem to hear you anymore.
Is that climate change issues are either abated or is totally abated, and we take some action. I don't want to know. Or we take some actions within and around Lagos. So I'm going to share my screen now so that we can get the whole issue. Climate change in Lagos came as a result of the peculiarity of Lagos State, what we experience as a state, and the need for us to begin to take actions so that Lagos will not go under as predicted by some studies. So around 20 my screen is still trying to load. I'm sorry. Around 2018, 2008, the state government make a very, very decisive action or step to make sure that climate change is institutionalized in Lagos. And by so doing, they made Ministry of the Environment as the secretary.
Yeah, I think the network must have knocked him out. Okay, I think while he's still trying to join, we can have a question for our facilitator. So is there anyone that has a question? I think I had seen a hand that was raised before, but now it's down. So if you have a question, please you can type it in the chat box. Do you have any question for our facilitator? Okay, Gondi, your hands are raised. Okay.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My question is, I want to really know more about the macadamia waste that was being produced so that we can have much clarity on it. Or how can we get to research more about it? Because I'm a bit lost.
Oh, hi, Kate, you're actually muted.
Thank you. A classic problem. So Gondi, thank you for the question. It will take me a while to find it, but I will put in the chat a YouTube video where they explain the project. You see the site and you hear directly from the people involved. And I'll also paste the Green Gowns Award report where you can read more. But brilliant. I'm so glad you're interested because it's so inspiring.
Thanks so much. Hey, Chuku Kandibia, can see that your hands are raised.
Good day. Thank you very much. My name is
Hey, can you please be more audible?
Okay. My name is Chukadibia Ezbe. I am a fashion designer. Our business, we're looking at achieving 100% green fashion by 2030. So I have a couple of questions to ask. It feels like the world, or maybe Nigeria, we are not looking into the fashion industry in regards to the amount of carbon footprint the fashion industry is contributing. As a brand, we are concerned about this, and we're looking at approaches to curb. We are encouraging outfits that outfits with reuse, outfits with modular concepts, where probably one outfit can be used a couple of times instead of having to buy many outfits, thereby reducing fast fashion. My question is this: are there communities, or what advice would you give a startup with such long-term plan vision, knowing that green fashion is actually expensive because for all the things involved, for recycling, it will be so expensive. I don't know if if you have any advice to give a startup on how to go about achieving green fashion. Thank you.
Mhm. Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much for your question. And it's just great that you're interested in this. The carbon footprint of fashion as an industry is absolutely enormous. So I know that from reading Vanessa Nakate's book that she herself buys secondhand clothing. So, and I personally decided to do this when my daughter was born. I decided, children grow so fast, you're buying clothes all the time. And I decided that I was going to buy everything secondhand. And if I was going to do that for my daughter, I was going to do that for myself too. So everything I wear is what can be called pre-loved or secondhand or thrifted. It's certainly an economic way of being a consumer of clothes. But I think you've highlighted something important on the other scale when clothes are being manufactured new but using recycled products, or in factories that are high standards of environmental sustainability in terms of their renewable energy and their limiting of waste. Those items of clothing, the price tag for the consumer can actually end up being quite high, and that's prohibitive for most people, in fact. I don't really have any solutions or insights particularly into the fashion industry, but what some countries and cultures and communities is a in wearing vintage clothing or clothing that's really good quality that they've had for years and they proudly and again, or pride in wearing and buying and selling pre-loved, thrifted, repaired clothes. So I think there's a sort of a shift in our cultural norms that is also playing an important role in this fashion resale revolution that we're seeing in some countries. Thank you for your question.
Thanks so much, Kate. We still have another hand raised up. Lumon, would you like to go next?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, how can we get funding or maybe improved crops so that improved cash crops so that farmers can plant and then drift away from cutting down trees, because these farmers do this to earn extra money. So if we want to stop them from cutting down trees, we need to give them something to do instead. For me, I'm actually doing a little work in my own community. We started with giving villagers, widows who have a compound and a land, a tree to plant. So maybe having an improved breed for the community will help people drift away from cutting down trees and doing other unsustainable method. So how can we get improved breeds? Because it's not easy. Even the local breed that we got, we had to spend a lot of money to get them across to them. So how can we get them? Is there any support where we can go to? And secondly, is there any climate change action here in Abuja? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. Unfortunately, on my screen, I couldn't see who was talking, so I didn't catch your name, but Thank you for your thoughtful question, and kudos to you for the efforts that you're already making. I think your question is probably better answered in the community here on Zoom than by me. But I'll point you to the Green Generation Initiative, which I believe is something that's happening in Kenya, for inspiration. And I believe that their core business of their I believe it's a charity, is planting fruit trees. I think it's actually in schools. But to try to address one of the issues that you raise, which is, what there needs to be a sort of a resource benefit for keeping trees in the ground or for planting new trees. And when those trees are providing for you in terms of nutritious food, that's a very helpful and tangible and real benefit. So again, I'll dig out the URL, and I know it's not in Nigeria per se, but maybe there's something, some knowledge in there that would be useful.
Okay, thank you for your suggestion, Kate. We still have someone with a question. Kelechiku, would you like to go next? Kelechiku, are you ready to go?
Hello?
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Kate, for the presentation. Actually, when we are talking, it feels like this section was meant for me because it's actually in line with what I am currently doing. I am a PhD student trying to find a improve house cooking in rural areas. So it's kind of a societal project that I am into. So I can relate with stories that you use for the illustration. So my question is the first one, if it will be possible, I would like to have a link to the two books or stories so we can read furthermore in details to get knowledge. Secondly, I don't know, this is a personal request. I might be coming to your DM or email that I can further on issues, particularly it relates to me and then my current studies.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. And yeah, best of luck with your studies. You might want to think about actually submitting your own project to the Green Gowns Award. That would be fantastic to learn from you about how this can happen in Nigeria. And yes, please do reach out, and I can send all of those links to those resources. Yes.
Thanks so much, Kate. So we have a question from Abdullah, please. Okay.
All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. Thank you, Kate, for that powerful presentation. My question is actually peculiar to Nigeria, or let me say African countries, and I hope that with your vast experience, I can actually get some answers to them. Um, I know building a healthy environment should actually be everyone's priority, and I know that the government, the non-governmental organization, and even if individuals from various communities have to work together in achieving that. I also know that in terms of actions from the government, there has been a lot, most especially when it comes to environmental protection policies and laws. So, but unfortunately, we have some, a lot of challenges facing that, ranging from the government political will and some other factors. Tapping from your experience, I want to know how do you think individuals in local non-governmental organizations can actually collaborate with the Nigerian government uh, in trying to ensure that the community is safe for living for all. So I want to just find out an individual, what can one actually do to support those government agencies and even in terms of collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. So I think you really strike at the heart of a major challenge. I mean, the climate emergency needs to be solved by all of us working together collaboratively, all going in the same direction. And it's public sector, private sector. It's obviously policymakers and governments play such an important role because they set the expectations of business. They really sort of their policies affect how ambitious all of us are in acting and how easy and smooth it is to make this transition that we need to make. One thing which I think there is a strong evidence base behind is that when governments writ large, policymakers writ large, see their voting public has climate change at the top of their agenda, is prioritized by the constituents that vote for their representatives. When they know that to be true, they can be more bold and ambitious, and we need them to be, in their policy making. So, I have no experience of how it is in Nigeria, but for me, as a UK voter, I know that it's really important that the people that I have the power to vote in know that the climate is at the top of my agenda. And I am quite vocal about that. I'm quite transparent about that. So yes, I think your question is a difficult one, and it's getting to the core of one of the challenges we need to address, which is political will. But we all have a role in making sure that it's clearly one of our top priorities.
Okay, thanks so much, Kate. So we'll take one more question. Rains, are you ready to ask your question?
Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hirens Chikamnale. And first of all, I would like to thank Kate for this wholesome session. It was really eye-opening. Thank you very much, Ma. Well, my question would be concerning sustainability, because the main issue I've seen, particularly in some of the climate action projects I've participated in, is sustaining it at the long run. Most of the partners we would partner with at the long run, after some years, those projects would still need for them to be sustained, and it's now very difficult or hard to go back to them to perhaps ask for funding and stuff like that. Then the project becomes invalid or it doesn't go forth again. So that's just the issue. I feel we're facing here in Nigeria, sustaining projects, meaningful projects. It's not just about starting it, but how do we sustain it? So what would you advise us we should do during this time? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great question. And potentially even starting something might actually be easier than maintaining it over time, because there's this sort of motivation where people are happy to sort of, do the extra work, make the extra effort. So in my small experience with working with small teams and groups, what we talk about is that a project should never be on the shoulders of a single person. It shouldn't really just rely on one heroic character to see it through. You should always imagine your project. What would this look like when I leave? Maybe I get a new job and I leave this organization. Maybe I leave this, geographical location. Maybe there's a change of leadership. What does it look like in that future without me being here, or without those key allies being here? So you need that sort of thoughtful process of, do you embed it into policy? Do you make sure that the benefits are very, very visible, very, very tangible, celebrated, so that people really don't want to let go of those benefits in the future? And how can you, by design, from the very beginning, build in ownership and a sense of pride in that project and the change that you're making, so that if the director of the school moves on, the siblings of the children that, from years ago, they want to maintain these practices. So ownership in that community, and what mechanisms, levers, can you pull to make sure that it has that strong foundation? It doesn't just rely on a temporal energy or a temporal person driving the change. Questions?
Thank you so much, Kate. It's been a wonderful and insightful journey just this afternoon. And I think that the key things is, find the problem, get your allies, collaborate, there be effort. And at the end of the day, we're all able to have, safer environment. We're able to turn into something useful. And at the end of the day, there's less waste, we have productive partnerships, and we're changing the world, turning it into something better than we met. And at this point, I just want to appreciate you so much for taking your time out, facilitate this show, and that all participants are excited and they are leaving with something. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
So please put in
Thank
the
you,
chat
Bolu.
box. Thank you so much. So please put in the chat box what you've learned, your excitement. So at this point, we'll be having Mr. Michael Bankole is back online. The network had knocked him off before, but he's fully back online now.
Yeah. Once again, good afternoon, and I need to apologize. I don't know what happened to my system, just froze on me, so I have to change the system. So I'm going to quickly share my screen so that we can go through what I was saying earlier on. Just give me a minute. I don't know why today of all this is when all this system decide to behave the way they are behaving. Yeah, so let me share screen. And can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to go into I want to talk about Lagos story about climate change. While a little while ago, somebody asked a question, our projects don't seems to continue after initiation. Well, I would disagree, but most of the problem that we have is that we don't do serious planning before we start doing a project. So if you don't have planning, then the project will not endure the time or continue. So I want to share with you what we are doing in Lagos, which I have tagged Lagos Climate Change Story. And just on 4 contexts: climate change in Lagos, climate action planning, and I hope that climate action planning will answer the question that my brother asked. Then we do climate science, or what we call climate analytics. And then to bring it home to this is a legal youth program, so we'll be able to identify with you what we are doing with the youth on our climate change issues. Now, climate change in Lagos. We all know that Lagos State has a very small land mass, 3,577 square kilometers, out of which is 22% of it is water. And we always suffer from climatic conditions. In fact, studies have shown that the major climate drivers in Lagos State, sea level rise, extreme temperature, and extreme flooding. And it is because of this. And then if you cast your mind back to 1995 or 2010, you can be in any of the age brackets. There was one rainfall in 2010 afternoon. The rain was so much that it caused a lot of lives. We lost so much in terms of human life, in terms of property, and this is what gave us the impetus to move forward and then design a climate change program or a climate change activity that is going to make Lagos more resilient. And like I was saying the last time, we are looking at attacking climate change from 3 different angles: from public awareness creation and advocacy, climate change mitigation, and climate change adaptation. And I try to explain what mitigation and adaptation are. Mitigation is for you to be able to control the effects of what climate change is bringing to us, while adaptation is to bring climate action solutions that will make us adapt to this changing climate. And another way we are going to do about this in our awareness creation is to adopt the training of our school children, to believe that when you train school children, you are able to impact life into the program, and then they also can change their parents. So to also help us in making the climate change story a worthwhile story and a program that will stand the test of time, Lagos State decided to have what we call climate governance. Climate governance is about those that will sit at the ends affairs of the climate issues and make decisions that is going to have impact on all of us collectively. So our climate governance is in 3 steps. we have the State Climate Change Council that is headed by Mr. Governor himself and supported by the commissioners and then all the commissioners of relevant agencies or ministries that we have verified. We have the State Technical Committee on Climate Change that implements the decision that has been taken by the Climate Council. And then we have the Climate Change Forum, which serve as an advisory council to the Technical Committee and then to the State Climate Council. And it is in this Climate Change Forum that we have NGOs, we have universities, we have youth of like mind or climate bias to come together and we discuss and make some decisions concerning climate change in Lagos. Now, when we move from setting up all our strategies about climate change and the adaptation, climate change mitigation, and climate change advocacy, but we need to put something on the ground. Identify actionable, and by so doing, we got in contact or we signed an agreement with C40 cities. The agreement is called Deadline 2020. And one of the priorities of Deadline 2020 is for us to set up a climate action plan that will span over 5 years, that we identify several mitigation and adaptation projects that can be implemented and that can actually make a change. So what we did is signing the Deadline 2020, and after that Deadline 2020, we went into some strategic appraisal, appraising where we are in Lagos, what we have done, and then try to compare notes both locally and internationally. And in this process, that is when we started working on our first greenhouse gas inventory to actually know how many, what is the volume of the emission in terms of carbon dioxide in our environment. Because in climate science or in climate change, what you don't measure, you can never tackle, you can never have solution to it. So we wanted to know what our carbon content are in the atmosphere or greenhouse gases. And we know that greenhouse gases are carbon monoxide, methane, oxide of sulfur, oxide of nitrogen, water vapor. So after that, we went ahead to a document that we call Climate Action Plan. And from the Climate Action Plan, we have started to implement some of the conditions that are some of the projects that have been stated in the Climate Action Plan. Now, the Climate Action Plan itself, the aim of it is to address some identified climate risk by presenting integrated and robust solutions, and also to create a pathway whereby we can deliver net zero city by 2050. So that is our plan, and that is the plan that is before you. The QR code will lead you to the full document that I'm talking about. And in this document, we have identified different actions, different initiatives for us to do. And also for you to take actions, because we know that action must be taken now. We delve into what we call climate science or climate analytics. And from our climate science, we are able to arrive at the point whereby we can confidently say scientifically the amount of carbon dioxide emission in Lagos across 3 sectors. In energy is 53%, in transport is 18%, and in waste 29%. Having known the percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it is easy for us to design a project or a program that is going to take care of reducing this amount of emission. So also, for us to achieve a net zero target that we are looking at, we decided to do Lagos emission projection scenarios. And we have different conditions. And from our own projection, we are saying that by 2050, if all actions are taken into consideration, we may be attaining our net zero emission targets. But that is if we begin to do the actions that we have projected or we have established. And what are these actions that we have established? We have 18 adaptation solutions. And these 18 adaptation solutions have been categorized into different areas where action must be taken. We must flood-proof critical infrastructure in the states, because we know that when it rains and it rains heavily, Lagos State is susceptible to flooding, and we can't afford to be losing our infrastructure. Cast your mind back to a few days back, 16 and 17. Dubai had the kind of rainfall they had. They've never experienced it in 70 years. That every part of the city was taken over by water. Now that is Dubai that have latest technology and infrastructure that they can, even they have defenses. Let's assume it happens in Lagos. How do we do it? So we have to create some initiatives, some projects to flood-proof our infrastructure. Also, we want to see whereby we can create and ensure resilient communities. There are some communities within Lagos State that are not resilient, or the projects are not fit for purpose. So what we do is we try to, imagine the kind of project that we can do that is going to last the test of time and is also going to benefit the people around the area. And then also the third one is to anticipate risk and improve response to risk, to crisis. Lagos State is doing very well. We have LASEMA. They are our first. We are doing some, climate analytics to also improve on their activity. So, under the mitigation action, we have, broken down our actions, and this is some of the things that we said we want to do. In energy, we are vigorously campaigning for inclusion of renewables in our energy stream. Now, National Grid is no more reliable. This year, National Grid has gone off for about 3-4 times. Probably where you are, you don't have lights, but we have enough sunlight that we can generate power from. So we are advocating for solar PVs, and we in Lagos State, we try to lead by example. We have installed in schools, we have installed in the hospital. The recently renovated Third Mainland Bridge, if you drive on that road at night, you will see that it's now properly lit up. And what did they use? Solar panel, solar lights. There is no need for you to start connecting any wire anywhere. The solar light is efficient. And then we have different programs across all board. I'm not going to go into details, but this is where it's interesting for us. This is our new program, which we want the youth to come on board and join us. We have a program that is going to engage all the youth in Lagos State. And when I say all the youth from primary to secondary to tertiary levels, we are doing what we call Lagos Youth Climate Campaign. Recently, we launched this campaign, and the influencer for this campaign that is going to help us to what we are trying to do is Tauma. Tauma is a skit maker. She's funny. She has so ourselves and Tauma, we are jointly developing a skit that will talk about some climate issues ranging from waste management to energy and to air pollution. So this is where we are, where the youth will be involved in our actions. And the theme of our campaign is standing for climate action, repping our future. If the youth does not take the actions into their hand today, then nobody is going to help us. So that's why we are saying the youth are very important, and we are taking this to you. How do we want to communicate with the youth? Number one, we want to educate. Number two, we want to enlighten. And number three, we want to empower. Education is important because when you are educated, you are enlightened, and when you are enlightened, you are empowered. And one of the ways we want to empower our youth is what we call Lagos Arts Talent. This program is going to be opened very soon to all youths in Lagos State to bring on their thinking cap and, innovate or curate a solution, a climate solution that can be replicated or that can be, amplified. So when the time comes, we are going to make this known to everybody so that you bring in your talent. And we are not doing it for free. We are doing it, it's going to be like a boot camp whereby we have some celebrity judges that on weekly basis also we judge your input. And at the end of the day, the first best talent will be rewarded for their labor, and then rewarded by seeing their actions amplified beyond what they have done. So these are the things that we are doing in short. But if you want what we do, free to write to us at climatechangelagosstates@gmail.com, and we will oblige you the opportunity to speak to us and to share our dream and to share some of our work. We have so many publications that we have done, so many policy documents that we have done that you can tap into, and then you can learn one thing or the other from it. I want to say thank you for this opportunity, and I'm sorry for taking your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bankole. It was great to hear plans of the Lagos State government on climate action, and I'm sure that all the participants are also eager on, to participate in the activities of the Lagos State for those that are in Lagos State, and even for other states. There's so much to learn from the presentation of today. And thank you also, everyone, for joining in to the bootcamp of today. I'm sure that we all had a lot of things to learn, so much, insights. I mean, these are things you pay for. These are things you pay for. And I just want to say thank you once again. And in the chat box, we've already put up the link for a feedback. So we'd like to hear from you. So please ensure that you share your feedback in the feedback survey. Thank you so much, everyone, once again. And have a lovely, lovely, lovely day. Bye, everyone.